Fast forwarding come our channel so how IG politics avenue. Political stories are trending because making headlines. Na Jim right now, you be some honey dim ya mbrak simu meso say mong raying simu. No ya koyeng simu. With regards to removed Chief Justice Gertrude Tugonu ne issue no and ameno kasei political scientists binom atrank say Alhaji and Alhaji show so call so Pan African television. Now omotimi analyze it, probe into the matter and draw conclusions. SNP say His Excellency John Dramani Mahama kwanya ofaswa wo yi maame no na se na ne to ase akonwa no mra kwa so a na we de ofaye wo nye mfumso bia na omademre nsemi omudomu asuko yensemre yenko ne yenti ne yeko ene de eba meda sese wajemre e wo ha GH Politics Avenue
that I cannot unfortunately provide answers for. For example, we're all in this country. When we were told that the president acting according to the Constitution, I think that's Article 146, had to automatically transmit a petition that he received against the Electoral Commission chairperson. And this is important because that article talks about, officers of constitutional bodies. In this case, you are talking about the Electoral Commissioner, you are talking about the Chief Justice and other, judicial officers. So the argument, if you remember, were loud. There were those of us who thought that the president could not merely be a conveying belt, and that the president should have some, should be clothed with some authority to decide if a petition is meritorious or not, if it is worth his time, it is worth his attention. But the arguments were loud against that position. In the end, the position that the president should be a conveying belt won. And for me, I thought that was a principle established for all never to argue with again. That when a president gets a petition to remove a chief justice or to move an electoral commission officer or the NCC person, the president has no hand, has nothing to do but to transmit it in consultation with the Council of Elders to a committee that he will set up. I thought that was a principle established, and so there was no need to go back to debate it again. So it happened. President got a petition to remove EC officers. He acted as a conveying belt and transmitted to the committee. The committee came back with their report. The president acted based on their report. Established principle. No need to argue, because we lost the argument then that the president should exercise some moderation, should exercise some rationality, we lost that debate. Fast forward. President Akuffo Addo, I don't want to talk about other petitions that he received, that he treated differently. But in December of 2024, yes. In December 2024, before he left office, President Akuffo Addo got a petition in similar fashion. But guess what? Before he handed over, he actually wrote to dismiss the petition. Now, that's a question mark for me, and those are some of the questions I said I may not have answers to. But it is important to understand what is at play today. He got a petition to remove Justice Gertrude Tugonu. So President Mahama is not the first person to have received a petition to remove the Chief Justice. After President Akuffo treated the petition he got to remove Šhǒcǩ, like I argued, a principle was established. December 2024, he receives another petition to remove Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. In this case, he didn't act as a conveying belt. He exercised discretion and dismissed the petition. I think it was from Professor Kwekwaza. He dismissed the petition. Then comes in President Mahama in January 2025. And another petition against the same person, Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo, is brought before him. So, acting in concert with the established principle of being a conveyor belt or conveying belt, he transmitted it in consultation with the Council of State to a committee. And unlike before, in this particular case, he followed the Constitution to its letter, because copies of the petition were actually even shared with the Chief Justice for her response. In the past, Madam Šhǒcǩ had to write requesting for the petition so that she could prepare herself to respond. But in this case, President Mahama followed the Constitution and gave her copies to go and defend herself before the committee. Senna. And that is where this whole matter became political. And watching how the Chief Justice turned this matter political got me thinking about why on earth people given, the authority of the state even contemplated and finally took the decision to make such a person our Chief Justice, and how she has worked all these years as our Chief Justice. I mean, because clearly from that point that the President Mahama decided to go according to the Constitution and according to established principle in the past, all I have seen the former Chief Justice do is play politics. Nothing about the law. I don't hear her talk on the Constitution and the law. Her arguments have always been emotive. Nothing logical, nothing rational, nothing constitutional. So she holds a press conference and she's talking about emotive matters. Then you have NPP lawyers, NPP members of parliament jump into the fray, working in consultation with her. I'm like, yes, nobody is immune from playing partisan politics. But can't you just be discreet because of your position? Even if you want their help, if they are your comrades, can't you guide the process in such a way that it does not taint the office that you are occupying? It was full-blown political reaction from day one. Partisan political reaction. And I think that the advisors simply said that, look, this matter, the NDC is coming after you. So make it political so that you can muddy the waters and no one will pay attention to the constitutional matters that have been raised. Because for me, there was no tact. It was just politics. I mean, talking about murder of judges and her uncle, and I was like, how is that a response to the legal process that you are being taken through? Tell us that Article so and so have been breached by the president. Tell us that, the petitioners missed this immunity that you are entitled to as Chief Justice based on Act this or Section this or Article this. Tell us and let's go and study and enrich ourselves. Don't tell us that your uncle was part of the Justice Method and then the room and I mean, it was full-blown politics. And so, for me, I am excited that in all of these, I have not heard anybody state anywhere that President Mahama breached the law. At best, what they say is that it is payback. But if he is paying back and he has not breached the law, I mean, how else do we expect a president to respond when faced with a legal challenge such as the one that he was faced with? He should go against the constitution that he has sworn before the people of Ghana to defend and say, because they will say I'm paying back, I shouldn't apply the law. I don't know what else the defenders and the critics of what has happened expected President Mahama to do. Clearly, I think that what has happened is good for our democracy, is good for the rule of law, and it should serve as a warning to all of us when our people say that when you are eating a monkey, you should watch your fingers. If you think that in the application of the law there can be discretion and moderation, when you have the opportunity to apply the law, exercise that moderation and discretion, so that when it is being applied to you without moderation and discretion, you will have a justifiable reason to raise concerns. But if you don't do that, you don't expect that we should listen to you when others are not doing that in your case. I don't get it. I don't get why some people think that they are more holier, they are more Ghanaian, they are more entitled to, moderation, but others are not. You can't live in a country like that. But what are the issues? The gentleman who submitted this petition. Again, maybe people are missing something. This is not your typical case of a farmer, somewhere who a petition is prepared for to front. This is not. This is not your typical case of a party food soldier who a petition is prepared for to front. This is a petition that has been submitted by a man who you can say is insulated from the partisan politics that we all play, financially and socially. Your biggest, investor, I'm told, in the stock exchange. Whether NPP is in power or NDC is in power, this is a man who is not affected by the business that we do as politicians. When the stock exchange is doing well, he's doing well. And on the stock exchange, you have MTN, you have all state institutions and non-state institutions. And he's one of the biggest shareholders of the stock exchange in Ghana today. So he's not somebody that somebody will sit in a room and say, hey, come and let's do politics with the Chief Justice. No. So if he raises concerns, those concerns ought to be looked at on merit. And it is those concerns that the committee have examined and have come to the conclusion that they amount to stated misbehavior on the part of the Chief Justice. And the President has simply acted in accordance with the findings of the committee. And I must commend the committee members for the yeoman's job that they have done. Because especially when this matter was deliberately politicized if you were not a man or a woman of, you know, independent, what do you call it, mind, you could easily be swayed into trying to play middle ground to look good. Because sometimes people who politicize such sensitive nature matters expect that. That's why they do it. That when you do it that way, now somebody who doesn't want to be accused of being MPP or NDC will want to act in a way to stand in the middle. So they do it deliberately. But I commend them for their astuteness, for their, you know, forthrightness, and the fact that they did not allow anything to influence them. They examined the issues on their merit. I understand there were provocations, I understand there were intimidations, there were attempts to even bribe and cajole, but they stood their ground and they examined the issues based on the merits of the case that was before them. And so I commend them for a yeoman's job done, and I commend His Excellency the President for how he has also handled this matter. I mean, it's one of the cleanest, you know, what do you call it, processes that I have seen that have not been marred by needless political interjections and reactions. He simply, you know, operated as a statesman every step of the way, focused on results and on the rule of law and the constitutional provisions. So.
Thank you very much. If you just join us, we are talking about something that was first communicated to us on 25th March 2025, when the president indicated to us that he had some petitions is forwarded to the Council of State for advice and establishment of a prima facie case. Now, April 24, 2025, the president then communicated to us that a prima facie case had been established, announced the committee that had been set up to look into the petitions further. On 14th May 2025, the committee started its work. Then today, Monday, 1st September 2025, the committee submitted a report and recommended the removal of CJ Tokono, Gertrude Araba Esaba Tokono, as Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. So the president, like the Constitution said, had no other thing to do. He cannot decide that, no, I disagree with the committee. That would in itself be grounds for his impeachment, because he would have violated the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. So let me go to Honorable Suhini's former colleague in Parliament.
Thank you so much, Senator. And good morning to all our viewers and listeners, and good morning to my colleagues here. Senator, there are interesting times ahead. Very, very interesting times ahead. And I want to start, you know, before the show, we and I were having a conversation, and I said, there are two things. We have set a very high bar and a very low bar. And when I say a very high bar, we have set a very high bar for public office, which is extremely important. Anything that safeguards the press of Ghana, I am for it. Anything that safeguards the integrity of our public office space, I am for it. I want to give an example of a country, Singapore. Last year, they sacked one of their ministers, or ex-ministers. He was jailed. And what were his crimes? He took gifts from his friends. Gifts. People gave him gifts. 14 bottles of wine. Bottles of wine. A bicycle. He was found, some people bought some games tickets for him to go and watch football. Accra House of Folk and Kotoko match. Somebody bought him a ticket to go and watch. Somebody bought him a ticket to go to London with his family and back. And he was incarcerated for that. It is a high bar. So, if we lift the bar up for any public officer in Ghana, I have no qualms with it, including the Chief Justice, the President, the Speaker of Parliament. I have no qualms with it. And it is because we need to safeguard the purse of the state. We have all decided to be in the state together, and therefore we have to safeguard the press of the state. So, His Excellency the President, the petitioner invoking Article 146 has done nothing wrong. We've gone through the processes. The President has gone through the processes and has come to a certain conclusion has been set and a decision has been made. But the decision was not made by the President. However, I can state that bar that has been set cannot be met by 90% of our public officers, maybe including the President himself. It cannot be met. We will struggle to meet it. Suyun is my senior colleague. He would know. Even in Parliament, sometimes when the committees are going out to work for Parliament, it's the people that we are going to supervise that pay for the travels. Does it meet this threshold? That's a question for all of us to ask. The Speaker of Parliament, in fact, there was a time I actually asked the Speaker of Parliament on the floor whether all three arms of government are equal. He said no. I said, are they all on the same plane so that the executive is here, the judiciary is here, the legislature is here? He said no. One is above the other. So, for me, it is good for Ghana. It is good for our public service. However, when I talk about the low bar, the allegations that were made and the stated misbehavior that was defined, for me, it's a bit problematic. The discretionary, the space for discretion.
We are some who timi ko so chana no so mamano Saudi awada sana so ba den de dum bi elomia unia inshim na yen sumu kwa sukura aha age politics avenue.